By far, the most questions I get are about Kundalini awakening, or what's often called an energetic awakening. So an energetic awakening is when the subtle energy body wakes up to itself. And what that means is you'll feel a lot of energy in the body where you probably didn't feel energy before. So most people have their consciousness centered up here in their head and their brain area, or if they're really emotionally centered, they have a lot of feeling or energy in their heart area. But when Kundalini wakes up, when our subtle energetic body wakes up, we can have all types of confusing symptoms. And so oftentimes there can be a feeling of a rush of energy going up the spine. We can feel brain fog. There can be a feeling of anxiety as that energy wakes up. And it's really just energy moving through the system, but most people interpret it as anxiety. Sometimes it'll even feel like the energy wakes up with this big rush, and then all the energy falls away, and we're left feeling depressed. Sometimes we can feel depressed and anxious. Other symptoms that come forward is, we can have like psychic openings and hear voices or see things or see lights in the different chakra centers. So we may close our eyes and see purple lights or blue lights or yellow lights. Or we may feel that in our heart or in our belly. We may have crazy, wild dreams that come forward as this energy is waking up and, in a sense, clearing, all types of unconscious energy from our nervous system. Now, some people, as the Kundalini wakes up, their body can shake, it can tremble, they can have kriyas, and so kriyas, oftentimes, look like, like the body shaking or jerking. If you ever sit in a big meditation hall and you look in the back, you might notice, or if you're in the back and you look out, you may see different people sitting in meditation. They're having these little jerks. For me, when this Kundalini awoke within me, my head would tilt back, my hands would go up, and I'd get stuck like this. And if we don't know what's happening within us, if we don't know what Kundalini is, if this is a spontaneous thing like it was in my case, it can be really traumatic or confusing, or you may find yourself in a hospital. We can have strange neurological effects where, our body isn't working, our fingers aren't working, we have trouble walking or thinking. We may develop brain fog where there's just total silence in the brain, or it feels as if there's a fog within our consciousness. We have trouble thinking. We can have chronic fatigue type symptoms, or just tremendous amounts of energy. And so we may not be sleeping at all. We may have many sleepless nights. I would go months where I would just sleep, like for maybe a half hour each night. It was incredibly difficult for my nervous system. For some people it feels euphoric and blissful, and others it feels incredibly depressing and filled with despair and dread. We can feel heaviness, hypersensitivity, or that we've lost all feeling within the body. You can feel like a sense of emptiness, or like there's a void within our consciousness, or we're standing before this great vast abyss. We can feel peaceful and spacious and absolutely divine, and all kinds of divine states can wake up within us. We can have strange bodily sensations or movements, beyond the kriyas. Sometimes as this energy unravels, the spine can make these just strange, snake-like movements, which again can be very, very bizarre. And over the last 10 years or so, I've worked with, thousands of individuals all around the planet who, they've come to me, and oftentimes this energy woke up spontaneously. And, then they really struggle with all these symptoms that have come forward and ask for help on how to work with it. And so the first thing, we don't want to just watch, a YouTube video and diagnose ourselves. It's important you meet with someone who understands what's happening to you, this process of Kundalini awakening, and actually discern whether it is Kundalini awakening or whether it's menopause or you're just having an anxiety attack or panic attack, or maybe you did some yoga and the heart is just waking up and you're feeling a sense of aliveness in the chakra center. And so, some people have chronic fatigue syndrome. Some people have Lyme's disease. And it's important that you work with someone who's actually trained in helping you to diagnose and then who can offer you some support. I actually went and became trained in the world of psychology because I had so many crazy things happening in my body and I had to learn how to deal with it myself. And so I had incredible spiritual teachers. I was with my teacher at that time for about 15 years and stayed with him for 20 years. And then I had 3 or 4 other teachers that I would check in with around the experience of Kundalini. I worked with a team of body workers and healers and counselors and therapists. And eventually I took all this knowledge and now I share it with others. Because it is such a confusing journey. It's a confusing experience if all of a sudden your memory is disappearing and you're living with brain fog or incredible anxiety or fear. And if you go to the psychiatrist, they may put you on a psychiatric drug or medication, when in fact it may be that you're having a Kundalini awakening. But it's also important that we're able to discern whether it is Kundalini, whether this is a spiritual awakening, or it could be that you just need some, good grounded, psychological support or help. It could be that you have a neurological disorder, or, that there's, something like a real disease or distress in the body, where that needs to be addressed. And so, that's part of my job as a teacher and as a therapist, to help you discern and then offering you some support about how to go forward. The main teaching that I offer is, as the Kundalini is waking up and your whole energy body is waking up, it's good to remember that energy just wants to flow. And so the more relaxed your energetic nervous system is, the more the energy will flow through you, and then you'll start to experience some of the positive side effects like bliss and spaciousness, freedom, these things that that people are actually excited about on the spiritual path. But if there's fear in your body, if there's trauma in the body, if there's all kinds of confused psychology stuck within the chakra centers, because the chakra centers are places of divinity, they're also places where we repress our pain, our sadness, our grief, our wound, our shadow. And so say, for example, if you have a broken heart or lots of pain and trauma in your heart and in your belly, and this massive energy is waking up within you and starting to flow through you, instead of flowing through those chakra centers unimpeded and then you feeling blissful, oftentimes it feels like that energy is hitting a wall, and you'll feel tight, tense, you'll probably feel more anxious, you may feel depressed, you may feel as if there's an internal war that's happening within you, you may be having panic attacks and not sure why. And so a great question is this panic, is it Kundalini related? Is it just energy trying to flow through me? Or is there something in life that I'm actually afraid of or frightened of? Has there been someone abusive in my life and I repress that pain, and now it's coming forward in the form of panic? One of the things that Kundalini does is it's trying to bring everything to the light. It's trying to bring your divinity to the light and awaken you from the inside out. But it also brings all the unconscious forces within you into the light. And so some people are plagued by racing thoughts, by a mind that literally goes temporarily crazy or psychotic, where we're hearing things, seeing things. We may have psychic realms that wake up, and that can be very, very confusing. We can easily get lost in those realms. Ultimately what's happening is, this Kundalini, it's a force of intelligence, it's a force of love. And it's wanting a greater consciousness to wake up in you, your divine mind, your true sense of self. But the problem is it's waking up from the inside, and on the inside is, we have an ego, we have our psychological wounds, our shadows, our heartache, everything we've repressed. And so as this energy is waking up, it's bringing forth all this shadow material. And that's why it's important to have a teacher who you trust, someone who respects you, who knows you, who understands this journey, who's made it to the other side, who can hold your hand through the process and do the healing work, the somatic, trauma therapeutic work, who can, offer you pointers on how to heal, how to relax the body, how to help you get some sleep again if you're not sleeping. And also someone who can offer you sound advice, because again, there's too many people here who will misdiagnose us along the journey. Will get all kinds of well-intentioned but unhelpful advice. Like I met with ER doctors and neurologists, and they said, I've never seen this in my, 30 years of medicine. And, I met with counselors who were really confused by it and thought it might be psychosis or this or that. And, so you have to be careful who you describe your symptoms to, but at the same time, you have to learn. See if the medical system can offer you anything. See if psychiatry can offer you anything. But it's good to understand if this is of spiritual nature, there's a good chance a neurologist won't be able to help you. You need to meet with a teacher and a counselor. And for some people, psychiatry can be very helpful. Other people, don't want to go anywhere near medication. I personally am not a fan of medication unless someone is experiencing an intense psychosis or, something they can't actually deal with. Overall, this experience can be quite frightening, but it can also be quite thrilling. If you learn to let go, to trust, and to surrender to this process. But that takes great faith. That takes a great willingness to let go. Where we may be stuck in fear or heartache or rage or anger or anxiety. And so, it's important, to trust in God, to trust in life, to trust that what's happening to you is not a mistake, but something quite profound. And as always, I recommend having a good teacher and a good support system along the way. I had such great support, and because of that, even though my journey was quite difficult and confusing and bizarre and complicated, and I lost, I wasn't able to work, I couldn't sleep, I had so much energy moving through my body, I felt like I was going mad. But because I had a good team of support, I could get through this process, without completely losing my mind. And come out of it in a really grounded way where I feel, happy, spacious, free, blissful, and able to live in this world. And so there's all kinds of teachings out there. There's, stuff from the ancient yogic traditions, which oftentimes those mythological teachings, they aren't really helpful. They teach about Kundalini awakening almost like you just sit down and this energy rushes up your spine and then you are forever enlightened. But it's truly an evolutionary process, and this process can take anywhere from, 3 months on the shortest journey to 15 years. And for some of us, we don't even know what's happened to us. We took ayahuasca or we went and saw a chiropractor and he cracked us a certain way, and then all of a sudden we have these snake-like energy moving through our spine and our body. Or we were on a meditation retreat or a yoga retreat, or for some people they're just walking down the road and this energy starts to move within their consciousness. Sometimes these doors are open through trauma. When we have a very traumatic experience and we let go, oftentimes this energy can just start flowing through us, and then we can become very frightened. There's many different ways that this energy can wake up and arise. Some people it's body work or massage or Thai massage or whatever it is. it's important to have some support along the way so that you go about this journey with a sense of efficiency. Sometimes I meet people and they've had this panic and this fear and this energy for 20 years. And then I meet with them, we have a little talk, and they realize, oh, it didn't have to be so hard. It didn't have to be so confusing. I'm so happy to have some support along the way. And so, it's very important to find what you truly need. That way we're not lost in this world, of energetic awakening, because it is. It's very confusing. It can be confusing, but it can also be incredibly blissful and euphoric and, lead us to a greater state of consciousness. It's good to remember that God has a plan for you. That this awakening, it's not a mistake. That something greater is to come of it. To come of it. And that's the invitation here, is to find the support you need, to get the support you need, so that you can allow this manifestation to unfold with greater wisdom and clarity and compassion.